A big warm welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about controlling the bend in the sky. Now ultimately we are all subject to whether it's a fade, slice, draw, hook, and the shot that gets you into trouble. I mean, when you're hitting a little fade down the fairway, one that looks a little like that, or whether you're just hitting a little draw down the fairway, something that looks a little like that, it's fine. I mean, nice little bend either way. And of course, when it's going well, no bother. But when things start to get a little bit tasty and we start to see things like that occur, a little bit too much draw, or we see a little bit too much fade, it's like, oh goodness, what's causing the bend? What's causing the ball to go to the right or go to the left? Well, I hope to answer those questions for you. Up on the screen, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, first of all, a big thank you. And while I'm at it, 60% of you are not subscribed. If you've enjoyed the content I create, please consider subscribing. The attack angle, club path, face angle, and face to path are the four variables I always have up on my channel. The first one gives us the angle of attack, how much of the club's hitting down or up, path, outside in, inside out. Face to angle is either pointing to the right of the target, left of the target, but the biggie, the one that you should all be passionate about, forget everything else. The face to path value is the one that will give you the insights into how much curvature you see in the sky. So I've got a 7-iron here, and at 12 degrees of open club face to path, the ball had 56 feet of curve to the right. I now close the club face, and I now have a face to path that is negative 7.3 degrees. We see 69 feet of curve to the left. So the curvature that we see in the sky is giving us some insight into what the face to path value is delivering at strike. Now, the tricky part for you avid YouTubers, big thanks for being here, is that you need to find out what your problem is. I did a video earlier on in the week about early extension, the Stuart Cartwright wall of death. That gave you an opportunity to work on your early extension. But what does early extension create or give you? Who knows? I do. But it gives you a lot of things. But what's it going to do for your golf shots? And I think sometimes we get lost in this pursuit of what our actual agenda is here. Is our actual agenda to stand there and repeatedly hit shots straight at the target? Or is our agenda to be able to have some sort of say over what the bend in the sky would do? Because ultimately, when's a straight shot ever really worked for you? Have you ever, think back, got a cup of tea in your hand, you're watching my video, and you're just going to pause for a moment. When was the last time you aimed at a target, hit a perfectly straight shot, it was the right distance, and it landed by the flag? Let me tell you, I can't remember last time I did it. And I think you'll find a lot of golf pros will feel the same. So playing dead straight is never the way to go. But what we cannot do is stand on the tee, and if you saw the golf coverage last night, Brian Gay rather sliced one out of bounds or into the soup at 7 under par and leaked oil on the way in. He hit a shot when it mattered most, with the closing 3 or 4 holes to play, and he lost his golf ball. That is what we are all trying to guard against. And it was interesting. Brian was getting into the house, and he's a guy that's worked on distance, worked on hitting it further. But where he's worked on trying to hit it further, he's lost that little shot that when you do hit it out to the right, that you have that little shot that you can just chase down the fairway and have a little fade. So it's when your back's up against the wall, what can you do to rely upon countering the amount of shape in the sky? So let's talk about the hook first. So you're the guy that stood there and you've been aiming up the right all day, and you've been drawing the golf ball back to the target, and you've been enjoying this subtle little draw. But as the round's gone on, the ball's started to bend more left. Now there's a few things that you want to think about looking for. When the ball started bending left, the first thing that it could have been caused by is your ball position. If your ball position suddenly shifted too far forwards and you made exactly the same shot, it would be so easy to collect the golf ball later in the arc, and now the ball starts slightly more left of target. The ball then has the same amount of draw on it. So first thing you should always look for when you're overdrawing the golf ball is if the ball gets too far forwards. If I now drop it back in my stance and I do the same swing, that was a bad shot on my part there, forget that one, that's gone left. Let that come down, pop the ball back in the stance, and then you make a swing, all of a sudden you immediately counter the amount of draw. So if you're in a round of golf and you've suddenly started to feel an overdraw come into play, put the ball further back in your stance and get through your round. If you are a hooker of the golf ball, put it in on the inside of your glove. Put it a note in your golf bag. As soon as I start to overdraw it, pop the ball back in your stance. And the reason why that works is because, as you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, is invariably a ball further back in your stance will make you hit more down if you make exactly the same movement in your swing. Whilst the ball will come out lower, it will fend off the left side of the golf course. But ultimately, if you're out there on the 12th and you've got a good round going and you just want to get in the clubhouse, wouldn't it be nice just to get through the round? There are other ways and means about going into it, but I just think it is too difficult to start messing with swings, facer alignments and all that kind of stuff. Just shift the ball further back in your stance and try as best you might to make the same swing. It's so easy when the ball is more back in your stance that you start to feel like you're going to hang back behind it. But actually, if you can make the same swing, you will go from being overdrawn. Look at the amount again that I've hit down. You've now opened the face up to your path. I make exactly the same swing. I now put the ball further forwards in my stance and I swing through. All of a sudden I've met it later in the arc. The angle of attack has come down. The ball started less draw, but look at the path line. Path line's gone from super inside to now a little bit across it. But the point is, a really fabulous little way of overcoming your overdraw is to pop the ball back in your stance. So that's you hookers out there, all sorted. Now let's talk about the golfers where you're out there, you've been hitting little fades, and then before you know it, you've hit yourself a dirty slice, whacked it out of bounds. Now, this one is probably something that plagues more of you than less of you, particularly with the driver. And understand with the driver, the reason why that is the case is because we're meeting it late in the arc, the club is swinging in, and more than any other issue, a golfer is pulling on the handle because they're still trying to create speed and energy. You might not think that you're pulling on the handle, but I promise you, you're pulling on the handle. And I've had so many people say, Stuart, this pulling on the handle, it doesn't work that way. Or I don't hear people talking about that. Stuart, I don't see the handle coming forwards. Goodness me. Goodness me. I'd be as polite as I possibly can. But if you could see the golf swing for what it is, we'd all get better together. So the pulling of the handle and the ball being further forwards is the issue that causes you to make the ball suddenly weighing itself out to the right. But also, there's a bit of gear effect there with the driver, isn't there? A little bit out of heel, and that gear effect takes it off to the right. Now, if you're talking about irons, first of all, the best way to go about feeling how you're going to reduce the amount of draw, lift the club shaft up in front of you. So you're into your address position. Lift the club shaft up in front of you and allow the club shaft to lay to the left. I'm not rolling the club face over. I'm simply laying the shaft to the left, about 45 degrees, and then make a through swing. And keep your handle at the same height. So you lift the arms up in your posture, you lay it at 45. I'm not shutting the face, I'm just laying the shaft to the left, and then keep the handle at the same height, and now make a through swing. Now put exactly the same finish feel onto your shot, and before you know it, hey presto, good as gold. You might hit a straight one. So the forearm rotation that I've just shown you how to apply makes you understand that this pull, rotation, turn out the way that makes the lever, the shaft and the arms open the face up, be backed off. It allows the energy transfer to occur. This is an exaggeration, of course. I could still open the face, I could still close the face, but ultimately that face is now looking left. I've got as much cup in my left wrist as I possibly can, as you can see from that face on camera, but that face is pointing to the left. My left hip is back, my left hip is back, my left shoulder's back. I'm moving around the golf ball, which will allow me to start to feel how the golf club and me can move around the corner and start to hit a 2-foot draw. Whew, 2 feet. So understanding that the slice, the one that got out of sequence, the one that got you into the bother, that sliced the golf ball off to the right, possibly the worst demo I've ever done on camera, but I'm leaving it in there. The one that sliced it off to the right is the shot that where the forearm rotation moved to the right too aggressively through strike, offered the face open more than anything else. And as I say, you have a ball forwards in our stance with driver, that problem can be exacerbated. The handle goes super left, the face goes super right, and that's before you even start talking about golfers trying to swing from the inside. So 2 tips: with the hook, get the ball further back. With the slices of you out there, lift the club up, lay the shaft down, 45 degrees, then make a through swing, keeping the handle at the same height, and you will alleviate those 2 big bends that you might see going out to the golf course this weekend. I think you'll find that's good coaching. See you next time.